And welcome to Technology Tap. I'm Professor J. Rod. In this episode, we'll talk about passwords and multi-factor authentication. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to Technology Tap. I'm Professor J. Rod. So we're going to do something a little bit different going forward. So here's a little bit of housekeeping, as I like to call it. One, we joined the PodMatch network. So hopefully that's going to help us in getting more listeners. Two, we're going to do 3 episodes a week, and they're going to be released Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're going to be chapter episode on a topic, either security or A+. And then the Sunday, we're going to go over the history of computing, right? Like we're doing with the floppy. We did the 8-inch floppy. Next, we have the 5 1/4 floppy, and then we'll go to 3.5 and so forth. So is how it's going to go from now on. So hopefully this format will bring more listeners and bring more enjoyment to everyone who is listening. All right. So welcome to Technology Tap, the show where we take complex technology and break them down into stories you can relate. I'm Professor J. Rod, and today we're diving into something that affects every single person who uses a computer, smartphone, or tablet: authentication. Think about the morning routine. You wake up, check your phone, maybe log into your email or social media. Every one of these actions begins with a question. Are you really you? That question and the technology behind answering is what we'll be exploring today. We'll look into passwords, password managers, multi-factor authentication, biometrics, and even passwordless future tech. And I promise you'll come away from this episode with practical steps you can take to stay secure. Let's tap in. Authentication is simply providing your identity to a system, but in cybersecurity, we always think in terms of CIA: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality means your credentials, like your password, are private. Integrity means no one can fake their way past the login screen. And availability means the system works reliable, even at 2 a.m. when you're trying to reset your password before deadline. And for my students, their homework assignments. We'll roll the sample. Think about online banking. Confidentiality ensures no one else can see your credentials. Integrity ensures a hacker can bypass the login screen with a fake cookie. Availability ensures you can check your balance on payday without getting locked out. And to make authentication strong, we use the following factors. Something that you know, like the password for your Netflix account. Something that you have. Your bank might text you a code to prove you have your phone. Something that you are. Face ID or fingerprint scan on your iPhone. Someone where you are. Your employer may only let you log in from your office VPN. Something that you do. Your smartwatch might know the way you walk is unique. When companies combine these factors, they are creating layered security. Passwords are the oldest form of authentication and still the most common. Let's talk length first. Longer is stronger. Think of password cracking like trying every combination on a bike lock. The more characters you add, the more combinations a hacker has to try. Real breach story. In 2012, LinkedIn suffered a data breach that exposed millions of passwords. Many were things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or LinkedIn. Attackers guessed them instantly. Modern guidelines from NIST actually says we should stop forcing people to change passwords every 60 days unless there's evidence of compromise. Why? Because humans are predictable. People would just pick up something like summer 2023, then fall 2023. Hackers guess these patterns. Instead, the focus is on using long passphrase. Imagine Purple Dungeon eat pizza at noon. That's 27 characters to remember, plus the exclamation point. Very hard to brute force. And never reuse passwords. When one website gets hacked, attackers try the same email password combo everywhere. That's called credential stuffing. And they do that, right? If Netflix gets hacked, whatever username and password that you have, they're going to try it on Amazon, they're going to try it on Hulu, they're going to try it on, all your stuff, Hotmail, Gmail. So, password manager. Here's the problem. No one can remember 200 unique passwords. That's where the password managers come in. Think of them as your digital keychain. They generate and store strong passwords for each site. You unlock the keychain with one master password. So yes, your master password needs to be very strong. Real world example. Let's say you use Bitwarden. You log into your Vault with your master password and maybe a code from your phone. The Vault decrypts locally on your device. Even Bitwarden servers can't see your password because they're encrypted end to end. Security tip. Choose a reputable manager with zero knowledge encryption. Turn on MFA for your password manager account. Back up your Vault because losing your master password usually means you're locked out permanently. And here's a kicker. A password manager can also protect you from phishing. If you land on a fake PayPal site, the manager won't autofill because the domain doesn't match. Multi-factor authentication. Let's say you have a strong password. Can attackers still get in? Yes. If they trick you with phishing or if the site gets hacked, that's why multi-factor authentication is so powerful. It adds another wall. Real world example. Remember the 2020 Twitter hack? Attackers called employees pretending to be IT and tricked them into giving up credentials. Accounts of high-profile users, Elon Musk, Barack Obama, were taken over. Twitter now enforces MFA for many internal tools. MFA options include hardware tokens like RSA, secure ID fobs, apps like Google Authenticator that generate time-based codes, push notifications that let you tap approve on your phone, and biometrics combined with a PIN. MFA can stop 99% of automated account attacks, according to Microsoft. If you haven't enabled it on your email and bank accounts, do it today. Don't just pause this and then go and do that, right? Handle your business, guys. And I always like to say, I always tell my students, there's something that you are, something that you have, has been around for a long time. It's been around for years. Think about it. When you take money out of a bank, right, you need your card, which is something that you know, and you need your PIN, something that you have. So, that's been around for a long time. We just haven't taken advantage of it, or that much advantage of it now. Plus, as I was telling one of my classes, it takes a long time for people to get used to things, right? It's now that we're doing, our multi-factor authentication that sends a code to your phone, right? I love that, but it's taking us a long time for people to get used to that, right? Because again, they want to make things convenient for everybody on the commercial side, on the customer side. And that usually means giving up security. But I think people are getting used to it now. So now that's becoming a thing now where, you log into something and then a code gets sent to your phone, which I absolutely love. I mean, I think, yeah, can you get hacked? Yes. But what are the chances of you getting hacked, right? That's the thing, right? It's lower than just having password 123 on your account, right? Biometrics. Biometrics uses your body as the password, and they're everywhere. Your phone might scan your face. Disney theme parks use fingerprint readers to match guests to tickets. Airports uses facial recognition to speed boarding. But biometrics are important. System can reject you. That's called false rejection. Or worse, accept someone who isn't you, which is a false acceptance. Real story. Researchers have shown that cheap 3D print masks can bypass some facial recognition systems. That's why most secure systems combine biometric with something else like a PIN. And unlike passwords, you can't change your fingerprints if it gets stolen from a database. Yes, that's happened. You just can't pick a new one. That's why protecting biometrics data is critical. And it's a whole new thing that we need to be a little bit more security conscious, right? There's on YouTube, if you could look it up. If you look up Jimmy Kimmel social engineering, those people, they try to get their passwords, and people freely give it to them. Like, they ask them questions, and next thing you know, they've given up their password. It's an amazing video. I show it in all my classes. There's actually 2 videos of that, where they walk over to people and they ask them their password. At first, they initially say no, but eventually they give them the password, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, it's crazy. You should watch it. Look it up. It's on YouTube. All right, let's wrap it up. Today, we explored authentication, passwords managers, MFA, and biometrics. All the ways we prove who we are online. So here's your homework. Pick one account that doesn't have MFA enabled. Turn it on today. Download a password manager and generate strong, unique passwords. Experiment with passphrases instead of random gibberish. They're easier to remember and just as strong. All right, welcome back to Technology Tap. I'm Professor J. Rod. If you joined us the last time, we explored how we prove who we are, authentication, passwords, multi-factor authentication, and biometrics. But proving who you are is just one step. Once the system knows it's you, it faces the next big question. What are you allowed to do? This is where access control comes in. Today, we'll explore the major access control model: discretionary, mandatory, role-based, and attribute-based. We'll talk about the principle of least privilege, account provisioning and deprovisioning, account restriction, and privilege access management. And of course, I'll share real-world examples from insider threats to IT horror stories to help make these concepts stick. All right, let's start. Access control models. Once you authenticate, the system uses access control to determine which files, systems, or actions you can access. Think of it like a bouncer at a club. You show your ID at the club, that's authentication. But the bouncer still checks if you're on the VIP list or just a general guest authorization, right? That'll be authorization. Discretionary access control, or DAC. DAC is an owner control. If you create a file, you decide who gets read, write, or execute permission. So here's an example. Imagine Alice creates a Google Doc and shares it with Bob, giving him edit rights. Bob can then share it with Charlie if he wants. That flexibility is great, but also risky. Malware or compromised accounts can spread access quickly in a DAC system. Mandatory access control, MAC or MAC. MAC is stricter. Access is based on security levels and system enforced policies. Users can't just decide to share data. Example, in the military, a document labeled secret can only be opened by someone with secret clearance or higher. You can't just give a friend access. The system enforces it. MAC is used in government and defense environments where leakage of information can be catastrophic. Next, we go to role-based access control, or RBAC. RBAC assigns permissions to roles, not individual users. Example, when a new HR employee joins, IT assigns them the HR role. That role gives them access to payroll data automatically. No need to configure access manually every time somebody joins or leaves. This is scalable, easy to manage, and great for organizations with well-defined job functions. Attribute-based access control, or ABAC. ABAC is even more dynamic. It grants access based on attributes like user department, device trust level, location, time of day, and risk score. Here's an example. Imagine a finance analyst can access the quarterly budget report, but only from a company-issued laptop on the corporate VPN during business hours. Try to log in from a personal tablet at 2 a.m. from a foreign countries, access denied. ABAC powers modern zero-day models, zero trust models. Never trust, always verifies. And then we have rule-based or rule-back. This model uses presets rules. For example, deny all logins after 6 p.m. Block connections from outside the U.S. or allow access only if antivirus is up to date. You probably experience this if your VPN locks you out until you install the latest security patches. Next, we're going to move to the principle of least privilege, which says users should have the minimum access needed to do their job. Nothing more, nothing less. Case study, in 2013, Edward Snowden had broad access to the NSA data, far more than he needed for his role as a contractor. That access allowed him to leak classified documents. This is why modern systems implemented just-in-time access, giving admin rights only temporarily. Practical steps: review permission regularly, remove stale accounts, and use privileged access management tools to grant temporary elevation. Next, user provisioning and deprovisioning. Provisioning is the process of creating, configuring, and maintaining user accounts. For example, onboarding. When Sarah is hired in marketing, HR triggers an automatic workflow. An Active Directory account is created, email, Slack, and VPN access are granted, and a welcome packet reminds her of the security policies. Though I would not give somebody who just started VPN access as soon as they start, unless if they're working from home, right? But deprovisioning is just as critical. When Sarah leaves the company, her account must be disabled immediately. Yes, at the minimum, right? Maximum is deleting the account. The minimum is disabling immediately. Horror story. 2021 report found that 25% of former employees at some companies still had access to cloud files, which is incredibly unbelievable. That's an insider threat waiting to happen. Imagine a disgruntled ex-employee downloading sensitive data after they leave. It happens more often than you think. Next, talk about account attributes and access policy. Every account has attributes like username, security ID, role, department, access history. Access control systems use these attributes to apply policies. For example, users in the finance user groups get access to budget files. Group policy objects apply restrictions like disabling USB drives. And conditional access may block logins from risky IP address. This is why logging in from a new country sometimes trigger an email alert or MFA prompt. The system noticed something unusual. You get this sometimes if you always download in New York City, you always log in New York City to your Gmail account. Every day, all day, every 7 days a week, 365. And then one day you go to LA and you log in, and not your computer, but somebody else's computer. It might trigger something. It might say, hey, you never logged in LA from this PC before. Let's make sure it's you. Especially if it's in another country, right? If it's like in the Philippines, not making fun of my Philippine people or anything, but if somewhere that you've never gone, it's going to trigger that. Account restrictions. To further reduce risk, companies use location-based and time-based controls. Location example, a hospital may block all logins from outside the U.S. to protect patient data. Time example, contractors may only be able to log in during business hours, and the system may detect impossible travel. Logging in from New York and then Tokyo 5 minutes later, that's a flag. And it's suspicious because it's impossible. These restrictions help reduce the attack surface. If you work for a bank, right? Banks are not going to let you be there until like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. After, I think it's 7 p.m., most banks will log you out automatically. And you can't log in. I think you have to wait to 8 a.m. if you work in the branch. You got to wait to 8 a.m. to log you in. Maybe 7:30. But like you can't go in there at 6 in the morning and start doing work. The computers won't turn on. Privilege Access Management, or PAM. PAM is all about controlling administrators and super user accounts. In 2017, not paid attack malware stole domain admin credentials from infected machines and spread rapidly across networks. Organizations that use PAM tools were able to limit the blast radius by rotating admin credentials and requiring MFA. Key PAM practice: zero standing privileges. No one keeps permanent admin rights. They get them temporarily when needed. Credentials, admin passwords expire quickly and rotate automatically. Password vaulting, privileged credentials are stored securely and admins check them out like a library book. This approach drastically reduces insider threat risk and limits damage from account compromise. Now, on to the questions. Now that we've gone through these topics, I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and I'm going to give you time to think about it, and then you're going to answer the question. Let's see if we can get 4 out of 4. All right. Which access control model is owner-controlled and commonly used in personal or commercial systems? A, MAC, B, DAC, C, RBAC, D, ABAC. I'll read it again. Which access control model is owner-controlled and commonly used in personal or commercial systems? A, MAC, B, DAC, C, RBAC, or D, ABAC? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the answer is B, DAC, discretionary access control. The resource owner decides permission. For MAC, this is system enforced. RBAC uses roles, and ABAC uses attributes. So the answer is B. The next, question number 2. The principle of least privilege helps organizations by A, giving users admin access for efficiency, B, assigning only the permission necessary for a task, C, allowing employees to share accounts freely, D, removing the need for authentication entirely. I'm going to read it again. The principle of least privilege helps organizations by A, giving users admin access for efficiency, B, assigning only the permission necessary for a task, C, allowing employees to share accounts freely, and D, removing the need for authentication entirely. So I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it, see what the answer is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is B, assigning only the permissions necessary for the task. The principle of least privileges minimize risk by restricting access to just what's needed. Giving admin rights, A, or sharing accounts, C, increases the risk, while removing authentication undermines security entirely, right? So then why even have people logging in if you're going to do that? All right, question 3. Which access control model is policy-based, dynamic, and context-aware, often used in cloud and zero-trust environments? A, DAC, B, RBAC, C, ABAC, D, MAC. I'll do it again. Which access control model is policy-based, dynamic, and context-aware, often used in cloud and zero-trust environment? A, DAC, B, RBAC, C, ABAC, or D, MAC? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, the answer is C, ABAC. Attribute-based access control considers attributes like user role, device, location, and time. Right? DAC is owner-based, RBAC is role-based and less flexible, and MAC is rigid and policy enforced. Hope you got that right. Now, last one. Let's go for 4, hopefully. Right? And we got 3 of them right, and this will be the number 4. All right. What is the main purpose of PAM, Privileged Access Management? A, to remove the need for user provisioning. B, to store encryption keys for end users. C, to secure, monitor, and limit accounts and elevated rights. And D, to replace MFA for all accounts. I'll read it again. What is the main purpose of Privileged Access Management? A, to remove the need for user provisioning. B, to store encryption keys for end users. C, to secure, monitor, and limit accounts with elevated rights. And D, to replace MFA for all accounts. I'll give you 5 seconds to think about that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is C, to secure, monitor, and limit accounts with elevated rights. PAM protects powerful accounts like domain admins or root by limiting their use, requiring just-in-time elevation and monitoring activity. A, provisioning, right? A is more like provisioning, is separate encryption keys. B are unrelated, and PAM doesn't replace MFA, it just complements it. All right, that was pretty good. Hopefully, we got 4 out of 4, right? Which I'm sure we do, right? We got a lot of smart listeners out there, especially my listeners in Georgia and my listeners in Texas. And I think I have a listener in Athens, Greece that likes to listen to my podcast. So shout out to you guys for listening. I appreciate it. All right, let's wrap it up. Today we saw how systems decided what you can access after login. We covered DAC, MAC, RBAC, ABAC, and least privilege, account restrictions and PAM, and provisioning. Here's your action list. Audit your own accounts. Do you have access to things you no longer need? Turn on conditional access or time-based restrictions where possible. If you're in IT, start exploring PAM tools like CyberArk or Beyond Trust. Just remember, authentication gets you in the door, but authorization determines what rooms you can enter. I'm Professor J. Rod, and until next time, keep tapping into technology.